Welcome back to this week's edition of the Interlake Sports Now. I'm Josh Dugan, and thank you as always for taking the time to check out the show. Despite some blizzard conditions last week here in the Valley, we still had some prep sports action take place over the weekend. Had Crosstown basketball and Crosstown wrestling, so we'll get to those recaps in our winter sports update. After that, we're going to take a quick look at some Griz and Bobcats basketball action as the basketball version of the Brawl of the Wild took place over the weekend as well. A lot of rival reactions that time of year. Things are getting closer to postseason. The intensity starts ramping up on the basketball court, that's for sure. And then we'll round this thing out with a little college football talk. As Montana, the Grizzlies, they made some serious splashes in the transfer portal recently, and then we'll just take a quick look at how the Bobcats fared as well. They've had a little more quiet time in the portal so far, but we'll take a quick look at that, no doubt about it. Before we dive into all the action, quick reminder, today's episode is brought to you by Nomad, voted the Flathead's best manufacturer. Nomad is a longtime supporter of our local community and sports scene, celebrating 20 years of building great careers and mission-focused custom vehicles. Nomad, a Montana-based company making a global impact. Visit nomadgcs.com for more info. That's nomadgcs.com for more information. All right, let's get to that winter sports update, starting with the Crosstown wrestling action that took place last week at Glacier High School. It was Thursday. The Flathead Braves and the Bravettes did pull off the Crosstown sweep over their Kalispell rival, Glacier. Flathead head coach Jeff Thompson had the following to say in a recap in the Interlake last Friday. Quote, overall, we wrestled with a lot of intensity and a lot of heart, putting on a show for the big crowd tonight, end quote. That's what these Crosstown matchups are all about. It's great to hear the athletes match the intensity of the crowd and put on a show for those in attendance. As Thompson said, with all this winter conditions, everyone's been cooped up. It's good to get out, take in some live sports, and get in that kind of an atmosphere where everybody can get revved up and let it out a little bit. So that's good. The Braves had strong performances from Gunner and Anders Thompson, who each had pins in under a minute, and Bella Downing had a big pin for the Bravettes to start out their night and get the first win on the board for them. And that kind of started the push towards their half of the Crosstown sweep for the Bravettes. As for Glacier, on the boys' side, Caleb Shine had the lone victory for the Wolfpack boys on the night, and Caitlin Spooler had a big pin for the Wolfpack girls. Kudos, as always, to all of our Crosstown wrestlers, and shout out all the spectators who ventured out into the winter storm and took in some wrestling action here in Kalispell. Like I said, great opportunity to get out for a little bit and enjoy some fun. All right, on to the Crosstown hoops that took place last Friday at Flathead High, where Glacier, now Flathead got the Crosstown wrestling sweep. Glacier, meanwhile, got the Crosstown basketball sweep, with the Wolfpack girls picking up their first Crosstown win since 2021. They won 44-31, led by 16 points from Reese Ramey, and the Glacier boys took care of business 60-50 over the Braves, with Liam Ellis coming up big for the Pack with 15 points and had some clutch free throws late. Cohen Costellitz also had 15 points for Glacier. Flathead's Lyric Ursuline had a game-high 21 points in the losing effort. Shout out all the Crosstown competitors, basketball, wrestling, whatever it is. Nothing like facing off with your rivals, especially when the teams have so much familiarity and mutual respect for one another. Also, shout out our guy John Allen from the Daily Interlake, sports reporter who was out there covering the Crosstown action in the basketball and wrestling scene. Some great recaps available on the dailyinterlake.com. All right, one last piece of prep basketball news real quick. The defending Class B state champion Big Fork Valkyries moved to 10-1 on the season and 4-0 in conference play. It's Big Fork's first season playing in Class A. They made the leap up, and it doesn't look like the Vals have missed a beat. So as we get closer to the postseason, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out on Coach Courtney Gunlock's squad down the road in Big Fork, because they have been a serious contender on the girls' side the last few years. The Big Fork boys as well. All right, let's wrap up our prep sports action with this week's Poster Player of the Week, generously sponsored by your friends at Clark Auto Group. Here in Kalispell, featuring 3 local stores, Clark Nissan, Clark Hyundai, and Mountain Auto and Marine, home of the $29.99 oil change and the friendliest staff in town. And don't forget, you can see the Clark Auto Group's 4-page special insert in the Daily Interlake every Sunday for the latest deals, events, and employee spotlight of the week. All right, let's get into the Poster Player of the Week. Thank you, as always, to our friends at Clark Auto Group. This week's Poster Player of the Week honors goes to a member of that Glacier Wolfpack girls basketball team. We mentioned her briefly, Reese Ramey, who played a key role in the Wolfpack girls picking up that first Crosstown win over Flathead since February 2021. Been a few years. The following quote is from Ramey in this Sunday's edition of the Daily Interlake. In the past, I haven't always had the best Crosstown games. Just actually winning feels good. Hey, can't argue that. Hard to argue. Always good to get a win over your rival. Go perform when the stakes are the highest. So shout out Ramey and the Wolfpack squad for taking back Crosstown bragging rights in the girls' basketball scene after a few years of not picking up a win. That'll do it for this week's Poster Player of the Week, presented by Clark Auto Group. Thank you, as always, to our friends at Clark Auto Group here in Kalispell for the support. Remember, you can stay up to date with the latest deals and events from Clark Auto Group by checking out their 4-page insert in the Sunday edition of the Daily Interlake. All right, speaking of rivalry games, let's take a quick look at the Brawl of the Wild basketball action that took place over the weekend in Kalispell with the Griz and Cats squaring off. Always fun. Excuse me, not in Kalispell. I believe it was in Bozeman, but a lot of fun. All right, so that took place. The two rival programs battled to a Brawl of the Wild split with the Lady Bobcats protecting home court in Bozeman with a 64-55 win over the Griz. Montana State guard Madison Hall led all scores in that game with 18 points to go with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. There was an interesting moment where Caitlin Lamardo, who had a double-double on the night, 10 points and 10 rebounds, did have to leave the game due to a scary injury that stopped play for about 20 minutes. That being said, the Bobcats tweeted out on X, I believe, so not tweeted, they threw out on X that Lamardo is on track to be okay and mentioned her parents were very thankful for the support Bobcat Nation had shown. So rooting for the best for Lamardo after that scary injury, no doubt. As for the Lady Griz, Danny Barsh led the way with a double-double, tallying 11 points and had 10 rebounds in the loss. All right, on to the Montana and Montana State men who squared off in the nightcap with the Griz picking up an 88-77 win over the Bobcats. Montana had 5 scores in double digits, led by Jackson Knapp, who had 17 points. Tajon Sawyer and Aiden Moody each had 16 points, while Brandon Whitney chipped in with 15.6 rebounds and 6 assists. A little bit of a triple-double watch there. Josh Vasquez rounded out the scores in double digits with 14 points. So overall, very strong group effort for the Griz. As for the Bobcats, reigning Big Sky Player of the Week, Robert Ford, had himself quite the night. Despite the loss, he racked up 30.7 rebounds and 5 steals to keep the Bobcats in the fight. Brandon Walker was next up for Montana State with 18 points. Ford went out and did it again, I believe, Monday night, had a double-double versus Idaho State for his former team. So Robert Ford's been rolling, former Big Sky Player of the Week recently. So with the Griz, with the win, the Griz are currently at 12-6 overall, 3-2 record in conference play. The Bobcats moved to 8-10 overall and 3-2 in conference play. As for the Lady Bobcats, they're at 9-9 overall with a 3-2 record in conference play. And to keep the trend going, of course, the Lady Griz are also 3-2 in conference play and now 11-5 overall. The Big Sky basketball tournament takes place in Boise March 9th through the 13th, so we'll be keeping an eye out on all that postseason basketball action coming up. Griz and Bobcats, their basketball programs kind of heating up at the right time. The Griz men have really been rolling, so we'll see what happens. Definitely be tuned in to all the fun basketball stuff. Let's jump into the college football scene, round this baby out. You got to think it's that time of year. College football never ends. Transfer portal time. So it's that Montana's even got the transfer portal. Everywhere you look in the sports world, you hear about the transfer portal, NIL, all the money flowing. But that being said, the Griz have brought in a solid haul of talent. They had 8 players join the team via the portal last week, 5 on the defensive side of the ball and 3 on offense. Let's start out with those guys on defense, then we'll move to the offense. So first off, they had a defensive back, a Phillipsburg, Montana product, Cade Cutler, who heads west after previously playing safety at Montana State. Another addition to the secondary via the portal will be Kenzel Lawler, a transfer from Utah, who has experience on special teams, Utah top-tier FBS program. So anytime you're getting talent from a school like that, it's a good sign. They shore up the front 7 with Pat Hayden, a defensive tackle from Monmouth, who had 17 tackles and a sack last season and had offers from several FBS programs and chose the Griz. So that's always cool. San Diego State transfer linebacker Vi Cahoe started 5 games for the Aztecs and had 23 tackles. And then Youngstown State transfer Anders Lerman who has 59 career tackles and 5.5 career sacks with the Penguins, is headed to the Griz. On offense, the Grizzlies added 3 transfers from FBS schools, highlighted by Fresno State transfer Logan Fife, a senior quarterback who had a solid career with the Bulldogs. He was primarily a backup at Fresno State, but he has over 21 career appearances, over 1,500 career passing yards, and 6 touchdown passes. So with Clifton McDowell leaving via the portal, he's heading to Temple. He committed over there of the FBS, heading to Philadelphia. They do have some big shoes to fill, and bringing in a guy with experience to a team who just was competing for an FCS championship a year ago should help things stay right on track for the Griz. So I really like the addition of Fife to the quarterback room. Also landing with Montana on offense is running back Stevie Rocker, who heads this way from the Arizona Wildcats, another big-time program, so a guy with a lot of talent, and former Cal Bear Everett Johnson, a 6'7" offensive tackle who was a 3-star product and rated the 60th best O-lineman in the nation coming out of high school. So some good accolades there for Johnson. He's played 15 games with Cal in his career. He's a little bit battle-tested. As for Rocker, joins a very strong group of running backs. The Griz recently announced that Nick Osmo will be returning for his final year of eligibility. He was originally planning on hanging him up, but Osmo will be back. You have Rocker. You have Jerry Rice Award winner Eli Gilman, a couple other really key guys. That's a loaded running back room. So look out for the Griz rushing attack next season. Rocker had a solid freshman year in 2021 with 150 rushing yards on 30 carries. He does have some experience, but he didn't really play much the last 2 seasons. As for the Bobcats, been pretty quiet so far. They've only added one player, Maine transfer tight end Rohan Jones, who had a solid 2023 season with the Maine Black Bears. He hauled in 5 touchdowns on 22 receptions. Jones, a real threat in the red zone, 6'2", 235-pound frame. He's a product of Montreal, Canada. Jones also had a 30-yard rush last year on his lone carry of the season, so that tells me the Quebec product does have some versatility. So I think he'll be a great fit in the Bobcats offense. Like I've said, they've been a little bit more quiet in the portal so far, Montana State has, but you got to like the addition of Jones to an offense that just promoted their former tight ends coach, or I believe he still will be, but Tyler Walker, he works with tight ends and fullbacks. He's going to find a way to get Jones involved on offense. Their new offensive coordinator has to like that addition. So big-time stuff there. The Griz have really cleaned up in the transfer portal. The Bobcats a little more quiet. They've had a really strong recruiting class at the high school ranks, so we'll see how that pans out. It's always a little bit of a crapshoot with the transfer portal. You never know exactly who's going to produce right away, who's going to see the field immediately, but you have to like Montana, bringing in a lot of talent on a team that just made it to the FCS title game. You add in a lot of FBS caliber talent, some proven guys with FCS experience. All of a sudden, that team just got that much stronger, and they are losing some key pieces. So, hey, the more guys you have to help fill those shoes, the better. As for the Bobcats, like we said, we'll see if they make any more moves. But as of now, been a little quiet, but excited to see what Jones does in that offense. He could be a dynamic player who could help really shake things up. All right, on that note, that'll do it for the Interlake Sports Now. Thank you, as always, to our friends at Nomad, GCS, and Clark Auto Group for the support. And thank you, as always, to everyone watching or listening for taking the time to check out the show. Everyone drive safe out there. Let's hope these, warmer weather stays a little bit. I've been joking. It's a scorcher here in the valley, about 35 degrees today. So we'll take that after a string of blizzards coming through northwest Montana the last couple of weeks and some real frigid -20 like temperatures. So we'll take a little bit more in the 30s. It feels like a scorcher. So hopefully that'll be gone till next winter. We'll see what happens. On that note, I'm Josh Dugan, and I'm out.